Hi, I'm Jane Hillsdon, marketing consultant and founder of Dragonfly Marketing. Welcome to this episode of the How to Do Marketing Show, a no-nonsense podcast about marketing for small business. It's our mission at Dragonfly Marketing to put marketing on the agenda for every small business in Australia. Why? Because we know that when marketing is done properly, it can help your business grow. The How to Do Marketing Show is a podcast just for you and your small business. Bursting with marketing insight and information, this show will be a fabulous resource to help you know all there is to know about the topic of marketing for small business. Now, let me ask you something. How hard do you think your website works for your business? Does it inspire your website visitors from the moment that they land on your site? Does it help clearly communicate exactly what you do, what you sell, what makes you different, and how you can make your customers' life better? Does it move a website visitor closer to taking an action with you? Does it convert leads to sales? If you can answer yes to the above, then you have a high-performing website. Woot! That's what you want, because it can not only save you time and money, it can actually make you money. A website is one of your most important touch points as a small business. It's worth investing the time and effort into making sure that this is you putting your best foot forward. So in this episode, we are talking to Jon Hollenberg, the founder of 5x5, a web design agency that specialises in building great-looking, high-performing websites. He has 17 years of experience within the web industry and has worked with over 500 Australian and international businesses to help them build amazing websites. I had loads of questions for Jon about just why and how and what small business owners can do to ensure that they have great looking and high performing websites that are an asset to their business. So let's dive straight in. Welcome to the How to Do Marketing Show, Jon.
Thank you for having me here, Jane. Lovely to connect with you.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to our chat. I love the topic of websites. And before we kick into the nitty-gritty, would love to ask you, why website design from your perspective? What is it that you love about working in website design?
What I love about websites, and they have evolved. I started doing this almost 15 years ago, and there has been a lot of change. Back then, we were playing around with tools like Flash and all these other cool bits and pieces. But really, the power of a great-looking, high-performing website is it can really move the needle on a business. So after years and years of doing this, typically clients will come to us and they suffer from one of three problems. Their website just looks downright horrible, and they have this sort of website shame. There's usually not enough quality content on that website, which ultimately means that they're invisible in the eyes of Google. And finally, it's not geared around conversion. So if they do generate the traffic through to the website's not working hard enough to convince someone to actually raise their hand and get in touch. So when we work with clients, we say we're going to build you a great looking, high performing website, but really that's only sort of scratching the surface in terms of the value that we're delivering for a client. If we go a layer deeper, it should really be like a stunning digital presence that's going to generate more leads and inquiries for a business.
Yeah.
But if we then say peel that back even further, and you know yourself, Jane, like you work in the marketing space, you know when someone is absolutely nailing their marketing, what they're doing is they are sharing their magic with the world. So ultimately, when we partner with our clients, we help them share their magic with the world. And that's what I love, because each and every business owner and client out there, they have this amazing set of talents and abilities and all that sort of stuff. So us as website designers, we're in a really, really privileged position to be able to work with them to extract that. And a lot of the times they actually don't know just how amazing or brilliant they are. So that for me is the interesting thing about websites, is we're able to dig into so many different interesting businesses and industries. And we essentially help them share their magic.
Gosh, I love that. And I think for a lot of the small business owners that I work with or have worked with in the past, I feel like the website and the power of that website, and I love how you have described that as a portal almost to really express the magic. It's almost like it's an extension of the small business owner, the small business team that's behind that brand, as well as the brand as well. So I love that you have likened that to something that can really bring out the magic and bring out the beauty and all the fabulous things about that business. But I feel like a lot of the time websites are really underestimated. So, you know, given that they have the power to communicate that magic, and then you've also spoken about, you know, make a significant impact as well as drive leads and sales. You know, my opinion, and I'm sure it's your opinion as well, is that websites can do so much to contribute to a business's ultimate success. Like they're not just this perfunctory listing that, you know, you tick that box and go, okay, yep, website done, tick. You know, we've got the website launched, we've done that, we can set and forget now. How do you think websites can really contribute to a business's ultimate success?
Yeah, so based on the events of 2020, what's happened is this rate of change has really just sped up. So historically, you know, if you had a great website and you were ticking all the boxes, it had the ability to move the needle on a business. But what we were finding out there are a lot of businesses that, you know, were very successful in their own right, purely through, you know, just traditional ways of doing business. So whether that was through referrals or like face-to-face meetings or running sales teams or, you know, going to networking events or whatever, like all the old school sort of, you know, pre-COVID stuff that each and every one of us as business owners used to do, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun and all that sort of stuff. But really, like what you know, COVID came along and it took a lot of that out of the equation. So people started freaking out. So then obviously the rate of change has sped up and these businesses needed to adapt. So when we start working with a client, we ask a really simple question, which is like, why do you actually want a website? You know, what's it going to do for you? And usually it falls into one of two categories. The first being that they want to, you know, sell things, or they want to generate new inquiries from people they've never met. Or secondly, through some of the more traditional things like, you know, having referrals. If someone refers through to you, typically they're still going to go to Google and punch in your business name or your individual name, research you, get the validation that you are the expert in that area before they get in touch.
100%.
Yeah. So then if we sort of follow that through, it's you know, Google coined this term, which is the zero moment of truth, and it's this research that's done from a digital perspective on any sort of big ticket purchase. And ultimately, what we need to do as business owners is to have a whole bunch of digital assets out there in the world where we can rack up basically 7 hours, and that might come in lots of different shapes or forms. It may be listening to a podcast like this. It may be having a conversation on the phone. It may be watching a YouTube video or some social media posts.
So it's 7 hours of consuming content, of people consuming our content.
Yeah. So then we look at 7 hours of 11 touch points, and they're all the things that I just described. So reading a book, blog post, social media post, all that sort of stuff. And ideally over 4 different platforms. So if you can tick all these boxes, then in a prospect's mind, they should have a clear idea whether you're a good person or a bad person and whether they want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
So then what's happened from a digital perspective is it's forced a lot of people to digitize, to create these assets, to build all these different touch points. And really us as business owners, we have a responsibility to provide as much information as possible out there in the world, so that people get that validation in their head that you're a good person and they want to partner with you.
Yeah. So if we look at those numbers, so 7 hours of content, 11 touch points.
Yep.
Now, is this before they start to consider to kind of come and buy your stuff, or is it before that they become kind of truly aware of you as a brand and what you stand for? Like they kind of go through that know, like, trust process to be comfortable enough to buy.
It'll vary from business to business and industry to industry. In our instance, it's very much our engagement and our sales process is very much collaborative. So to give you an example, someone will do a Google search for, say, like website designer. They come through to our website. Maybe they look at some of our work. We've got a briefing form. They'll fill out our briefing form and tell us a little bit more about their problems and what they want help with. And then we'll do a discovery call. We'll then get them on a half an hour Zoom call. We then dig into their business and do a deep dive through what we call a web strategy workshop, which is like a paid workshop. And off the back of that, we formulate a really detailed, clear digital strategy. So there's lots of different touch points that we've laid in there. I've also physically published a book. That book gets posted out to them. If someone takes the time to read that book, then it's a leveraged way of me potentially spending 3 hours with a prospective client without me having to spend 3 hours with a prospective client.
Yeah.
Right? And what the human brain does is it just lumps all this stuff together. So by the end of this process, it is a categorical yes or no. So the power that we have now is we can set up automated like email responders. We can retarget people and follow them around the internet on social media and through the Google network. We can do all this cool stuff utilizing these digital tools that have become available.
Yeah. So, and that's an awesome example. And it must be noted that I did actually, I think when I went through your process of that, and you did actually send me your book, and I did read that book, and I refer to that book all the time. It's a fabulous book. So thank you very much for that. And there's your 7 hours of content consumption. There's your 7 hours of content consumption right there, really, isn't it? With a book.
Look, that book, it's roughly 30,000 words from cover to cover. It's an easy weekend read. There's lots of pretty pictures in it as well. Maybe 3.5 hours. But then you factor in all the other touch points that we're doing as well as part of that process. And very quickly we can rack up that time. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's a really good example. Okay, so you've said that you've been designing websites now. Is it close to 20 years or 15 years?
So yeah, the business has been going for 15 years. I've been in the industry 20 plus years. I started in my spare bedroom as a 16-year-old, hacking together HTML sites for friends and family and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. So that's a lot of expertise. And as you said, I can imagine just how much, even just in the last 5 years, websites have just evolved so much, and the facility and the utility of websites has evolved. It must be a really exciting space to be in. When I was digging around on your website, and you've actually mentioned it a few times already before, you guys specialize in great looking and high performing websites. I really love the description of that. But what's your definition of a great looking as well as a high performing website? How would you describe that?
Yeah. Awesome question. So there's really, I think, three things that we are trying to do here. We want to build authority. So we want to establish you as a business owner and that you're the authority in your chosen niche, your industry, your segment, whatever, corner of the market you're playing in. So that's a really important one. We need it to generate leads. So that's where basically what traffic through to the website, right? We need that throughput. And then finally, we need to convert those leads. So the website needs to work hard to put forward a compelling reason as to why someone should raise their hand and get in touch, pick up the phone, fill out the inquiry form, purchase something, right? So they're the three key things. And we've got a bit of a diagram that sort of explains this. So I'll do my best to talk you through that. So if we take a few of those components, so we've got authority and conversion. If we combine those two, what is that? What's really going to move the needle on building authority and making sure that we can then convert people? And that's the site psychology, right? So that's the psychology that goes into all the elements of the website, and they include having an awesome brand, which you have a lot of experience in, right? So making sure the brand is the foundation of everything that you know, from a marketing perspective, the business does. Yeah. We need to make sure that the user interface is a really well designed and logical user experience, and people can find what they're looking for and all that sort of stuff. And then we talk about stunning visuals. So typically that is photography, and this is something a lot of people neglect, right? So we're not doing this face-to-face stuff anymore. We need these visual assets, the awesome photo shoot of us, you know, demonstrating what a client experience or a client engagement might look like as part of that process. Yeah. So we then have, we'll go back to authority and leads. We want to build authority and we want to generate new leads. How do we do that? And that's usually from a content play. Okay, so content is around having exceptional high converting copy. You know, eliciting a direct response from someone, triggering these emotional pain points and all this sort of stuff, right? We then have videos. So video is just such an awesome tool to be able to look someone, or virtually look someone in the eye and see what they're all about and whether they're someone that you potentially want to work with. And then finally, having a content strategy. So usually that's driven off the back of, you know, blogs or maybe case studies or technical articles or something like that. And content comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. So then we go back to leads and conversions. So what's going to move the needle on both leads and conversions? And that's what we call having technical intelligence. So a lot of that, and we're a big fan of SEO, you know, most digital engagement processes start off the back of a Google search. So if you can dominate your industry through SEO, so search engine optimization, making sure your website is nice and visible in Google, then that is just such a massive leverage point. Yeah. And then really just having some sort of call to action. So it's really around like having what we call a diagnostic. So in our instance, our diagnostic is our briefing form. So when someone, say, Google's website designer, there's a big fat button that says, get a quote. And they click on that, get a quote. And then there's like 7 clear steps where it's like, tell us who you are. Tell us what you do. Who do you do that for? What does your target audience look like? How are you going to measure the success of this project? And a whole bunch more information that we extract from that. So that's just a really simple example of a diagnostic tool that when that comes through, we're able to have a really meaningful, clear conversation with that prospective client. Yeah. So I know I've given you a heap of information there, but hopefully that all makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And I guess what I take from that is a high-performing website. So the great looking is fairly straightforward, right? Mm-hmm. If we get some impactful images, you know, colours that represent, you know, our industry and our brand and the work that we do, you know, some fabulous looking fonts, you know, it's not too busy, it's nice and simple to be able to digest. I mean, most people will form that impression as soon as they land on your website. The visuals are what's going to kind of invite them in the first split second as they land there and take all the visuals in.
Yes.
But I loved your iteration of the high performance, because what that does for me is just demonstrate that a static website, so for small businesses that have a static website that might be 5 pages with 0 interaction, is kind of the lowest form or the most basic form of a website presence that you can get. Because what you've described is not only this visual journey that excites and inspires and educates people, but it's a tactile journey, because you've got diagnostics and you mentioned it before where you're actually kind of collaborating with the user to actually, take them to the next step. So it's more than just clicking a button, although you've mentioned that you've got some really, prominent buttons there as well. That's, again, one more step of interaction. But also the diversity of content on there.
Yes.
So again, it's not just landing on the various pages and getting a paragraph of corporate speak, the about us, the home, the couple of sentences. The about us page can be really, really fun if you spend the effort there.
Spot on.
But, taking it from facts to actually, allowing them to deep dive and have that bigger kind of emotional engagement with things like case studies, with things like testimonials, videos, huge component of the website that can be really engaging and can engage people on an emotional level. And often how I'll describe videos, it's almost like getting to know someone in the person. Like if you consume enough of somebody's video content, your brain forgets that you haven't actually met them.
Yeah.
So to have that, in your digital shop front where people can sit there and if we reference back to the 7 hours, 11 touch points and 4 platforms, if they're spending, a good amount of time on your website because you've given them stuff to consume, then that's where that high performance comes in. That's where it can actually add to your business success, because not only can they consume all of that content, which saves you going through it when you actually speak to them on the phone, it moves them down the marketing funnel.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's a real mindset thing as well, Jane, and you can tell the people that get it. It's just like every day, we'll produce something in our business, or we'll answer a question for a prospective client. I was like, that should be on our website, right? There's a blog post right there, because if someone's asking me that question, then someone else has got that question.
Yes.
Right. So it's all about repurposing content and using it to get the most amount of leverage.
Yeah.
Basically, open sourcing everything as well. So it's a real key point. Is information is free now. You creating podcasts and interviewing guests and all that sort of stuff, right? You're just giving away everything.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: people still want you to do the stuff for you. They just want to understand it in a bit more detail.
Yeah, that's right. And I think too, in professional services where you stand to have an intimate relationship. So when I actually work with a small business client, there's a good deal of personal relationship between myself and them. And that's, a small business owner, that's their baby. This is something that they've built or that they've nurtured with their blood, sweat and tears. They don't want to just trust it to anybody. And plus, because you have to work so closely, you want to know that the person that you're going to work with is someone that you're going to get along with, that has similar values, that's not going to drive you crazy. And I'm sure for some people I would drive them crazy, but for the right people, for me, they can actually get that from my website if I give it to them. If I have this, really closed website with just a few sentences that looks like any other marketer's website on the block, they're not going to be able to actually get an idea of what I'm personally like to work with, or what my team are personally like to work with, right?
Spot on. Yeah. I get that from your visual assets. So like when you reached out and connected with me, I went and had a look at your website, and you've got some awesome photography, watched some videos, all that sort of stuff. And I can, the person that I'm chatting to now is very congruent with the person I thought you were, right? And it works perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. The person on my website probably doesn't drop as many F-bombs as I do in person. I'm on my best behavior on my website. Okay, so what can business owners do to make sure that when someone lands on their website that they stay for a while? And we have touched on this, but even if there's like 3 things that you can pull from that last question, because there's a lot of stuff that we included there, but there's stuff that you've mentioned that is specifically designed to keep people on the website for longer. Mm-hmm. What would those specific things be?
Well, so I think having a clear headline, I've worked with an organisation called Dent, and they, their first step in their process or their methodology is just like nailing your pitch, right? So your website, if someone comes through to it and they've never seen you before, you've literally got, about a second to convince them why, or to communicate who you are and what you do. So it's sort of like your elevator pitch. So for us, it's like the great looking, high performing website. And then, hopefully someone realizes that they're in the right spot.
Yes.
So that would be one of my sort of key recommendations. The second would be video. So if you can have a compelling sort of what we call the why video, why you get out of bed every day and build websites or do marketing or do accounting or whatever, what gets you excited, then that is a really, really powerful tool. We spoke about photography. Another sort of framework that we really always work into our home pages is like these sort of unique selling propositions. So these are what we call like psychological tick boxes in someone's mind. So they come through to your homepage and they're looking for these key things. So to give you an example, that might be like we did a website for a guy that makes bushfire shutters, operates out of Sydney and Southeast Queensland, and his sort of unique selling propositions are he has 20 years of experience, all his products are Australian made, they're fully rated and certified to the correct levels, he can install nationwide, they're an established team, and he can guarantee delivery in, a week or whatever, right? Yeah. So we will actually like go and illustrate these key icons so that at a glance, someone can go tick, 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 tick. Awesome. I'm in the right spot.
Yeah.
So that's something that is super powerful and not a lot of people actually do.
Yeah, nice. And so then what about, so that's to actually keep people on your website, which is kind of the step in the marketing funnel. So when we talk about the marketing funnel, very basically, the top of the funnel is generating awareness, the middle of the funnel is generating that consideration, and the bottom of the funnel is actually converting that person to a lead or a sale.
Yes.
So we've kind of talked about the consideration that's getting them to stay on the site for longer and deep dive into the information about you, is kind of that consideration piece. What are the things, because I feel like this is where most small business websites fall down. What about the specific things that people can use on their website to convert people to actually take the next step and pick up the phone? Sure, everybody has a phone number on their website, but that's quite a passive way to do this. Are there things specifically, functionalities or design features that will actually really encourage a website visitor to sit there, consider that information, and then move into a lead or if you sell online, a sale? Yeah.
So I'd even take it a step back in the actual journey, and as I said, most digital engagement experiences start off the back of a Google search.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful tools that each and every single business owner has access to is Google My Business. So
yes.
Right, and it's free to use. It takes a little bit of effort to go and extract physical Google reviews. There's a high degree of integrity in the system, in the fact that you've got to have a Google account to be able to, or for someone to leave a review. But it's something that we've doubled down on in our business, like over the last 3 to 4 years. We're just shy of 140 5-star Google reviews.
Wow.
And in the actual, I was doing a bit of a hunt around last week in the website world. there's actually not a lot of people with those sort of numbers. So for us, it's that tremendous social proof and that validation that you can't fake. There's a high degree of integrity to that. So that for me would be like, that's a no-brainer for each and every single business, regardless of the industry you're in. So even if you're in professional services or a very niche corner of the market, if someone Googles your name, they're going to see a whole bunch of 5-star Google reviews. If you can then create a massive wedge between you and your nearest competitor. So for us, like our nearest competitors were like 100 reviews in front of them. It's just like further validation that we're doing good work, we're getting quality outcomes, and providing awesome value. So that would be one of the key things. And I know that's not really sort of website related. It's almost the step before that.
Yeah, but it's a great point. Yeah.
So that, and for me, then it's like, how else can we layer in more social proof? So that for us, it's our portfolio. People come through to our website and they want to see the work that we've done. So we put a strong emphasis on our portfolio of works. For other businesses, it might be, say, client success stories or deep dives into, testimonials from clients. Really just proving and validating how you solve problems in the world, and your methodology and process for doing that, and then the real intangible outcomes you then get for your clients.
Yeah, I love it. And the Google My Business, so for any small businesses that are listening that hasn't kind of become aware of the Google My Business thing, that's something that's completely separate to your website. It's something that you just need to set up with Google.
Yep.
And it's actually like, if someone's actually searching for you on your mobile phone, it's actually the first listing that Google will serve up, right? Yep. on the mobile phone. So it could actually be, if there's a good portion of your customers that would search for you via mobile, that could be the first impression that they have. In fact, they might not even get to your website.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
That's why I mention it. It's the start of the journey.
Yeah. And that's another hugely underestimated address. So you don't have to have a physical address to have a Google My Business account, or because I know at one point you did need to have a physical address for a Google My Business page.
They will still ask you for a physical address, but what you can do through the profile is say, look, we service businesses Australia-wide. Just how the algorithm works is they will always prioritize local businesses. Over other businesses, but there's exceptions to the rule depending on the industry and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So
it
does help just to have some sort of physical presence, even though you're not physically, seeing people there, or you don't have a shop front or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so say there's some small business owners that are sitting here going, oh my goodness, my website has nothing of that. I really need to give my website an overhaul. Before we start, getting through into the tactics and all of that sort of stuff, or before they start getting into the tactics and the functionality and all of those sorts of things, what are some of the planning things that before they even sit down to put their wish list of functionalities and design together, what should they take a step back and think through from a planning perspective?
Yes. So like most things in life where things go pear-shaped, if you trace it back, it's usually because of ambiguity. So gray areas kill everything in life, whether it's relationships, you name it. Any ambiguity leaves you exposed to issues or problems. So what I'm trying to say is if you're going to embark on a website project, it's about having a really clear brief. And if you don't spend that time and do the critical thinking in and around what a website is actually going to do for your business, and we actually ask this question in our discovery process, we actually ask the following question. We say, John, fast forward 12 months time, we're sitting here sipping on a latte or drinking a beer, and you're saying, you have done such an amazing, exceptional job for me and my business. What would we have had to do for you to say that, right?
Yes.
So what are the outcomes ultimately that you're looking for, and how are you going to measure the success of that? So that's a really clear one.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole briefing methodology and process. So and my book, actually, there's a whole chapter devoted to that. There's an audiobook version of that, which you can listen to on Spotify and all that sort of stuff. So my point there would be just to spend the time to write a brief.
Yeah, and think through. And I think I love your point about ambiguity, because that, I think, comes to the content, not only the direction and what the website actually, how the website's going to fit into your business and help you achieve your business priorities, but in terms of the content, like the ambiguity of the content, have it planned out what your unique selling proposition is, as you were speaking about. Which team members' stories will you tell? Which are the client or the customer case studies that you can share that will actually help position your business where it needs to be and attract the right type of customer. So that planning and being very specific about the content as well as what you want the website to achieve, I can absolutely see how that would be very important to do.
Spot on.
What about how you measure the website's performance? Now, truth be told, website metrics, I mean, how long is a piece of string? There is so much that we can tell. And my biggest message always to my small business clients is don't overwhelm yourself with the data. Just because we can find it out doesn't mean we should be doing it all the time. It has to really relate to your business priorities and, again, what you've set out to do. But what are some of the key metrics that you look at for a website to assess its performance?
Well, look, I'm a pretty simple, practical sort of guy, Jane, and for me, it's just about results. It's like, are you getting a response? Are people calling you? Are people emailing you through your inquiry form? Are you generating sales? And obviously, then you can dig into those. So with phone calls, simply asking, how did you find us when they call you? Did you actually click on an ad, or was it through one of the free organic listings? Was it through the Google My Business? Did you click on the map, right? So asking these really clear questions will allow you to just have another layer of just transparency around what's actually working and what's not, because most people don't actually know what's working. Like, the phone keeps ringing and they're just like, it seems to be working. Then it's sort of like, well, if something's working, let's do more of that stuff. And double down on that. And then while you're doing that, you can diversify and look for other opportunities as well. So for me, it's just purely around results. You can nerd out, like you said, on all the technical stuff through Google Analytics, and it's important to, just even have a high level understanding of that, looking at specific trends. So, do I have more traffic coming through to my website pre or post the COVID world? What's changed? Where is the actual traffic coming from? Is most of it through Google, or is it through clicks from other people's websites? What are the pages that people are actually looking at? So that can then allow you to make more informed judgments around content. Because if there maybe a specific blog post is really, really popular and it's getting a heap of traction, then you might want to go and do more of that stuff, right? So that's really important. And then there's just the technical stuff. So you can. This is probably done in collaboration with a digital partner or something like that. So looking at like the load time of your website, how's that affecting your user experience? There's lots of different tools out there, and Google's got one called Page Speed Insights that gives your website a score on both mobile and desktop and all this sort of stuff. So there's lots of layers to that, but for me, it comes back to results.
Yeah. No, that's great. And it does keep it simple. Now, you build a lot of your you build all of your websites on the WordPress platform, I think.
Yes.
Why do you prefer to work with WordPress as opposed to some of the other website platforms that are available?
Yeah, so look, the sort of businesses that we are working with are typically established businesses. So, they're usually doing, say, $1 million plus in revenue. There's layers to the team. We're working with a sales manager or a marketing manager or something like that. And what we're delivering for them is very much like a customized solution. So it's a ground up build, strong focus on design. That design then is integrated into WordPress, and we make it nice and easy for them to manage and maintain the content and all that sort of stuff. But for a small business owner, that could be just very overwhelming, unless you're somewhat technical. So there's probably better tools out there. If you're like a one-man or one-lady show and you're in startup mode and you just want a nice clean interface where you can manage content, maybe there's some other tools like your Squarespaces or your Wixes of the world, right? And very quickly you can get a website up. It'll do most of the stuff you need it to do.
Yeah.
But for us, we're doing these more customized, bespoke solutions. We love WordPress in the fact that we can shape and mold it to do whatever we need it to do. Out of the box. It's super search engine friendly. So Google have publicly said like WordPress ticks 80% of the on-site search stuff that we're looking for. We integrate a tool called Elementor, which is like a page builder tool that makes it super duper easy for clients to manage the content. They can like drag these blocks in and put in videos and galleries and testimonials and all that sort of stuff. So when you add all that up, that's sort of why we choose to use WordPress for the sort of solutions that we're delivering.
Yeah, I love it. And WordPress is my platform of choice as well. And I also use that Elementor page editor, and it's so good to just be able to literally click and drag different elements into your page. And obviously I'm someone that deals with, the content management side of things all the time, but I find WordPress to have definitely been the easiest one to get to know and in terms of functionality. And it has, just with integrations and those sorts of things, it's definitely been
that's the other
preference.
thing I didn't mention. Like there's just so much stuff that can bolt into it, Stripe, and you can do your e-commerce stuff,
MailChimp,
all the marketing integrations.
Which is super handy, and it's so easy. Okay, so looking forward, what does the future hold for website design and capability? What trends and new technologies should we be listening out for?
Yeah, it's in terms of the paradigm shift that I spoke about, where it's that free and open sharing of information that each business owner should be doing. Like nothing's going to change there. Right. What will change is the platform for delivery. And my personal view is sometimes business owners, and this usually happens with maybe people that are more in that sort of startup mode or, a smaller business, is they actually get distracted with the nuts and bolts and the technology. And they almost use it as it may be a form of procrastination. It may be not, but they like to fiddle, right?
Yeah.
And if they focused and diverted that energy to building their business, creating content, selling, and marketing their business, rather than getting involved in the nuts and the bolts, then they'd probably progress their business a lot quicker. So, without sort of looking into my crystal ball and making those predictions in and around, like lean, Angular, JS technologies and scripting languages and all that sort of stuff, like I don't think that's particularly helpful to your audience. But my advice around that would be find a good partner, find someone you can communicate with, find someone you're aligned fundamentally with, and then leave it to the experts, and then you just have the tools and the platforms to be able to go and crank that content. So that would be my advice for the future. And the honest answer is I don't know what's coming. I still think, websites will still remain a very relevant part of the world.
Yeah.
And marketing, it's super critical that you control your home base. We see a lot of businesses that double down on specific platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or even like Google Ads, and 90% of their work comes from like one source, and that's super dangerous in the fact that if an algorithm changes or you fall out of favor with any of those platforms, it dries up overnight. So,
100%. Yeah, look, couldn't agree more there. So from that, I'm taking make sure you're definitely diverse in terms of how you actually, so you've got that diversity, so how you're actually driving traffic to your website. Outsource to the experts.
Yes.
And don't get stuck on the shiny new things. Don't sit there wasting time and procrastinating, which I think extends not just from websites, like all of digital marketing. I see so many business owners get distracted by the latest new social platform or technology, or whether it's artificial intelligence or, VR or whatever, AR. Just stick to what stick to what you do well and you can do well. Outsource to the experts and focus on your business. I think that's really sage advice.
Correct.
Okay. Tell us about 5x5 website design. This is your business, and this is the business that develops these beautiful, fantastic looking, great looking, high performing websites. Tell us about that and how you work with, because I know you work with small businesses. We work with a lot of businesses, but tell us how you do work with them. And you've kind of alluded to it, but in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I guess high level points. We're actually physically based at Burleigh Heads at the sunny Gold Coast. I shifted up here for lifestyle reasons from Melbourne 13, 14 years ago. Very happy that I made that move. And I guess I like to think I was probably, started that wave, and probably pretty similar to you, Jane, in the fact that, you're in a more regional location. The power of this internet means that we can service clients from all around the place, which we do. So a lot of our work comes out of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. We work across just a wide range of industries. We're a team of 30 plus people of user interface designers, developers, project managers, content writers, SEO experts. So we've got the skill sets, but we're still a nice lean team that obviously delivers just good bang for buck and good return on investment. And then everything else we've sort of covered off in terms of what we're actually physically doing. So that would be the high level points.
Yeah, awesome. And what if we've got some listeners who are totally motivated after hearing this conversation to get in touch and do something about their website? How would they connect with either you or your team to make that happen?
Yeah, awesome. So the best platform would be through our website.
Funnily enough.
You'd hope that I'd pitch my website. So that is, if you just search on 5x5, the address is 5x5, all spelled out, .com.au. We have a book. I wrote a book, Love at First Sight, SITE, how to build the website of your dreams. And that is actually available on Spotify in audio. I listen to a lot of audio, so you can listen to your car or when you're out walking or jogging or doing whatever. It is available for purchase through the website as well. As I said, it's got the full briefing form and all that sort of stuff on there. So that would be probably the key points to look at.
Yeah, awesome. And as I said before, I have read that book and I reference it all the time. I can kind of dip in. You can read it cover to cover, but also like if you're looking for a bit of inspiration or information about something, you can dip into a chapter and just refresh. So
that's spot on.
And it is. It's very easy to read and easy to digest information. So awesome. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Jon, thank you so much for being so generous with your insight and information.
Thank you.
And there wraps up another fantastic episode of the How to Do Marketing Show. Hey, if you are really enjoying these episodes and feel like they are helping you become a better marketer, head into your podcast app and hit the subscribe button. That way you will not miss an episode and the marketing goodness will just keep flowing on in. While you're there, it would be fantastic if you could leave a rating and review, because this helps other small business owners find the podcast. You can also subscribe to receive our weekly small business marketing tips at dragonflymarketing.com.au and join our small business community in the How to Do Marketing Facebook group. If you just go to Facebook and search for How to Do Marketing under groups and then just hit request to join the group. So I'll see you there, and until next time, happy marketing.
You've been listening to another Morgan Media production.